Missy Robertson, how you doing today?
Wonderful. Fantastic.
Well, thank you for joining me. I saw a social media post that you put up that you and Jase were in Greece, and I
Mhm.
love the way that you sort of described the trip. You said it wasn't it wasn't this beach vacation, that you were
No.
there for a very important reason. So tell us why you guys
Mhm.
went to Greece last month.
Well, we are privileged to have a fantastic ministry that's run right out of our home church here in West Monroe, Louisiana, called onekingdom.org. And it's really just mission based for all over the country. To put it in perspective, it used to be called World Radio. And we had hundreds of radio speakers that our church and that ministry supported all over the world that really just sent the message of Jesus Christ out to their nations. And of course, with radio kind of behind us now in the past, a couple of years ago, they kind of revamped the entire mission work progress and the logo and really just how it was branded and what they did. And the new director, Ryan Lee, we've been friends for years, and he married a girl that we've known since she was born. And so we're very close to them. And he took it over and has really expanded it and has really kind of brought it down to earth to where we can all understand what's going on in certain regions of the world better than we used to. And one of these regions is Greece. And there is a ministry in Greece that what they do, I'll try to sum it up as quickly as possible and just like a little simple package. But there are so many refugees coming out of the East, out of Afghanistan, out of Syria, out of Iran, Iraq. They're coming through Turkey and for amnesty reasons. And they get to Turkey, and Greece is a mile and a half away from the border of Turkey through the Aegean Sea. And they are risking their lives and the lives of their families to make it to Greece for safety, basically. The speaker there used to be a firefighter in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the inner city. So when I say speaker, the missionary there. And so he came and spoke at our church. And when I heard what he was doing, we were all in. And so we really started supporting him monetarily that way. So when Ryan asked us, do we want to go see what's going on over there? This is strange because I want to travel. I love it. I really never thought we would be able to. So every time I get a chance now, I want to go. But Ryan called Jase first, and I thought, that's a bad idea. Jase doesn't want to travel. Jase wants to stay at home in his little man cave with his two little dogs and be on the stock market on the computer or do his podcast from the comfort of West Monroe. So Ryan called Jase first. And when I walked in the door, Jase said, oh, Ryan asked us if we want to go to Greece with him and his wife. And I looked at him and I was expecting something negative. And Jay said, yeah, I told him we'd go. I was like, what? Like
So you're
next month?
shocked.
Yeah, like a month out. So that tells you how much Jase was all in on this ministry as well. So we went over there and saw the result, basically, of some of these Muslims that are fleeing the Islam regime. They are fleeing radical Islam.
Can I just ask you,
Yes.
has this problem, and this may even seem like a silly question in light of what we've seen happen in the last couple of months in Afghanistan, I would imagine there's probably an influx of this activity going on in recent months then. Would that be accurate?
Actually, that's not, because I thought as well. But and they may not have made it that far yet. That may be coming, but I'll just give you a statistic. We found out in the 1980s, there was between 60 and 70,000 people living in Athens. Now, today, there are 6 million people. Yes. So that's how many refugees have been coming over for the last few years. What we were told was that the government was not able to get a good handle on that during that time. They have a better handle on it now. So the influx has slowed down dramatically over the last just 4 or 5 years from what we've been told. But these Muslims are coming over, and they have been under the radical Islam regime for so long, when they hear about freedom in Christ, their hearts are wide open. And that's what's happening with this ministry. They are taking care of their physical needs and trying to get them set up, whether it is moving on further west. A lot of them have eyes on Germany and other European countries. And some of them just kind of most of them just kind of get stuck in Athens. And so through all of that, there is kind of an underground church there that is just helping spread the word of Jesus to friends, family members. They're converting their family back in their other countries. But then they're also running into a lot of trouble with that as well. Death threats and harmful things that have come their way.
What were so you got to go and actually witness some of this, and you see all of these people from Iraq and Afghanistan and other places who have fled, and they've fled for a better life, obviously. And I can't even imagine, and this is what I love about you guys, that you could sit back and you could relax and enjoy your life and not go and do these things, and yet you and your family are always going, always seeking, always helping and supporting, and to go there and see that. What was that experience like for you? You know, did it change you in any way? I would imagine it's a little jolting to hear some of the stories that you heard.
Well, you know, we do like missionary and ministry work, but I'm just going to be honest. Don't build us up too big because I had plans going over there. I wanted to see some sights. I wanted to see the beauty of the islands of Greece. I wanted that, you know, like I told my father-in-law, who he had no idea what this was, Mamma Mia. I wanted to see the Mamma Mia scene. He was like, I don't even know what that is. It's like, it's okay. But most people understand what I'm talking about there. The beautiful turquoise waters, the white buildings, the blue domes, the foliage, just you want those Instagram moments, right? And I really had to rebuke myself about 3 or 4 days in, because I was thinking, well, one of these days this week we're going to get to, you know, go island hopping or whatever. And no, the more I was around the people there, that was the beauty of the country, were the refugees that have found safety within the church. They take care of each other. They love on each other. They have a joy that you don't see a lot over here in the States. They are happy, joyous. They cannot speak English. And I can't speak Farsi. So, and neither can Jase. He tried a few times. It wasn't pretty, but they laughed at him. I mean, his humor translates in every language for sure, but he was able to speak to them at the Iranian based church there. And they had just baptized a girl from Afghanistan just a few days earlier there. So she was there. So just seeing them and the way they operate, the church is the church. It doesn't matter about languages. It doesn't matter about color of skin. It doesn't matter about your past. Everyone has sinned and fall short of the glory of God, but Jesus is for all. And so we got to witness that firsthand. Jase was able to speak on a Sunday morning through a translator, and they were all I could understand when they would say "Amen, Amen," and it was just, I know what that is, and they were so honored to have an American come over and love on them as well. But the blessing was ours, no doubt about it.
That's incredible. And I would imagine this ministry, there's probably things you can't say or you wouldn't say about the ministry. I would imagine elements of it, I don't know, are probably sensitive, but these people go over, they're in Greece, they've made it there, and they have nothing. I would imagine no food, no resources, no place to live because they're refugees. This ministry, can you talk a little bit about what the ministry does? Obviously, spiritual needs are being met. Are there other needs that are being met in that process as well?
So they end up on an outer island, Lagos. They end up on that island because that's the closest island that the Border Patrol for Greece will take them to when they find them in the ocean, in a raft or on a rocky island. They take them there. So their physical needs are met by the government, but we also have people from the church ministry that are there in Lagos on the island, and that are there to give them the initial first response to have you heard about Jesus? And then once that happens and they are, their hearts are open and they want to hear more, they usually come into Athens, whether it is, again, to go somewhere else, to stay there. A lot of times, once they understand what they are now free from through Christ, they want to go back, which they've spent weeks, months, maybe even years planning to escape. They want to go back because they want to tell their friends and family about Christ. So it's amazing. It is an entirely different type of ministry going on over there than we've ever been a part of before. But it opened up our eyes to exactly what the dangers that are going on. There's one family, an Afghan family, who his brother is a member of the Taliban. And this man and his family are now leading the Afghan part of the church. And his brother came over and took his mother back and took her back to Afghanistan. And it was just happened a couple of weeks before we got there. And it was very, very fresh on their hearts and troubling. And so once we started getting into that story, we kind of backed off with the questions, because we're not there to try to, send upheaval in their life. We're there to comfort them. And that was just, it was a very, very personal thing that they're going through right now.
I mean, to just kind of underscore and give some more context on what you're talking about here. I mean, these are people who have, as you said, they've given up everything to flee. They've gotten to safety now, right? They could stay there, they could coast, they could live their life, and they are changed by the gospel. So they're deciding to go back to the danger they escaped from,
Yes,
so that they can save other family members.
Yes.
I mean, that's incredible to me.
It's really, we can't comprehend it, living in America and being here this whole time, being born and raised in America. We can't understand it. So even I went, being there and talking to the families, I still can't understand it. I admire it so greatly. There is one girl that I just adore, and her name is Julie, and she's actually from East Texas, and she went over a few years ago, just like us, to just help in the ministry however she can, and fell in love with the Iranian leader of the church there, and married him, and is living there in Athens. And I've been texting her, we're 8 hours difference, but I even was texting her this morning, because she's 9 months pregnant. She's about to deliver her second baby. And we just hit it off, being from the same region of our own country, basically. But, I look at her and I think, I'm not sure I could do that, what she's doing. It is a stinky, dirty, socialist city and country. And I actually posted about that online, and she said, you accurately described this city, but hearts are wide open there with the refugees coming in, and that's what makes it beautiful.
I mean, it's incredible to me where God meets people. And I know that on Jase's podcast, you appeared and you were talking about some of the stories, and there was a story about a family, and I don't want to butcher the story. I want to give you a chance to tell it. But there was a little baby who almost drowned, and there was this sort of miraculous moment, but the family was trying to escape. You know the story I'm talking about?
Yes. So we actually met with them in he's the one I'm talking about that leads the Afghan part of the church, he and his family.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But just 7 years ago, they made their journey. What you do is you pay a smuggler a deposit from wherever you're living. They get you to the edge of Turkey, the border of Turkey and the Aegean Sea. Then you have to pay the rest. If you don't have the rest, your life is in danger. You may be murdered. Some of them will put you in the raft and then send you out in the water as they rip the raft with a knife. And so then you're just, drowning in the ocean. There's a lot of things that happen with the smuggler situation. But with this family, they were able to pay. They got on a raft. It was him, his wife, his 8-year-old daughter, and his 40-day-old son. So 6 weeks. And they got in the raft with about 40 other people and were shoved out into the Aegean Sea at night with a quick tutorial on how to row in the ocean. And because I said, do the smugglers get you to the island? They said, oh, no, they don't go with you. They send you out. and you're on
And you
your
have to
own.
trust that these are people who, I mean, they're smugglers, that they're
Right.
trustworthy people, which a lot of them are
No.
not, obviously.
Most are not. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So they are going towards the island that they were told they were going to, and then something happened, and they were basically the sea rerouted them to a different, more rocky island. And the closer they got, their raft tore, and all of the people are falling out, and they're climbing all over each other, and trying to swim to the shore. And his wife was in danger, so he hands his 40-day-old son to his 8-year-old daughter, and rescues his wife. And when he got her to safety, he looks at his daughter, and his words were, her arms were empty. And
Wow.
we just sat there in the living room like, what? And his daughter is standing there. Of course, she's translating for us. His 15-year-old daughter, who was 8 at the time, is translating. So she's telling the story of herself, word for word, how her dad is saying it. And we're just looking at her like, this girl must be completely traumatized, of losing her baby brother. And he said he prayed and he asked God to send him his son. And he looks in the water, and there's a flash of white that he saw in the darkness. And it was his baby. He goes out into the water, grabs him, takes him, brings him up. They do what they were trying to say, CPR, but no one knew how to do that. They were trying to, do something in order to bring him back. And they were unsuccessful, he said. They found a cave, went into a cave, built a fire, trying to get warm. And a few minutes passed, and the baby starts coughing.
Wow.
They thought they had lost him. They were mourning the loss of the baby. And we were like, this is him. He's sitting in the living room, and he's just the cutest little thing you've ever seen. And it was an amazing, amazing story. And then, of course, we heard the Iranian leader story as well. So everyone has a story. So they are all risking their lives and have been in danger in so many different aspects. No one had a safe journey. I'll just say that.
What do you think? Because I think it's so important that we talk about these stories, and I love that you're sharing this, because we don't, in America, we don't think about these things. We do not go through. Yes, people have challenges, but they're nothing like this. I mean, this is so foreign, as you were saying, to all of us. But why is it important, particularly for believers, to be aware of these stories, to hear these stories?
Well, we're the most generous nation on the earth because the Lord right now has blessed us with so much. And for us to keep that into perspective with regards to what's going on in other countries and the ministry and the work that is happening is so important, because it's so easy for us as Americans to forget and even not to know. We can't forget what we don't know. Go learn and see what is going on, because like we talked about earlier, the church is not just our brick building down the street. That's not what just the church is. The church is the body of Christ, and that can be anyone, anywhere, at any time. And there are some people out there doing some incredible work spreading the word of Jesus Christ and what he did for them. And it's not your version of God. God is God, no matter what your version of him is. He doesn't change. So Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that is good news to people who have been under a lawful, terrible regime. And they are now understanding that Christianity is not what I've been told it is. It's about love. It's about forgiveness. It's about second chances. It's about sacrifice that the Lord made for all of us. And we can get in on that. And so I think what's important to know about all of that is that there are a lot of people, Americans, that are sacrificing to help other people around the entire world.
That's powerful. And just my last question for you, as you came home from this trip, again, I loved the Instagram post you had where you described it. You described the city, what it was like, and that this wasn't the typical vacation somebody might assume when you say I'm going to Greece.
Right.
But how did your how did your heart change, in any way? Like what for you, I guess maybe how did your feelings change based on when you went there versus when you went home and saw all that?
Well, like I said before, I admire them so much, because when we got home that night, we landed before dark in Monroe. And so we were driving home, and I looked at Jase, we were in his truck, and I said, West Monroe has never looked so clean. We kind of complain about our own towns and our streets, potholes or, trash on the side of the road or whatever you think is wrong with your own town. I mean, we are so blessed, even in small town America, big town America. Um, Gratefulness, again, for where the Lord placed us in our lives, but also gratefulness to be able to go and see firsthand and then have the platform to be able to share what is going on and how people can help. And so you haven't asked that, but I'm just going to tell you how people can help.
I was going to, and I'm so glad you go for it. Let people know how they can
Well,
help if
they
they
can
want
go
to.
to onekingdom.org, and the missionary that works with the Greece refugees in Greece, his name is Larry Bowles, and he is amazing. So you can go to onekingdom.org and you can look up Greece and see what's going on there. And so even donations, you can send that to onekingdom.org and just, memo Greece on there. And it will go directly to that ministry of saving lives, helping them regain their independence and their safety, keeping them safe, and then also helping them spread the word of Christ.
Missy, thank you so much for sharing all this. I know it's a lesson for so many of us and a reminder. I always tell my 9-year-old, be grateful that you were born in America. You have no idea what it's like other places. And again, I just appreciate you taking the time today to tell that story.
Sure. Thanks for having me.